This is the amazing 1953 BMW R68. This sweet machine came from an auction. I bought it at an auction in Vegas about a year and a half ago, and I think I got a pretty damn good deal on it. Since they only made, some people say 1,100 of these, some people say 1,452. I'm inclined to believe the 1,100 number because there's only so many serial numbers out there, which makes it probably one of the most rare BMW motorcycles ever made, production versions. Although this looks very similar in scale and scope to the untrained eye, it looks somewhat like an R69S or an R60 or an R50. It's not. It looks kind of just like a gentleman's motorcycle, but what needs to be understood is that when BMW launched this bike in 52, 53, they said it's the 100 mile per hour motorcycle. Now, when you look at this bike, does it look like it goes at 100 miles per hour? I don't think it really does. It looks more like just a kind of a cruiser, but it is not. It is a very sporty motorcycle. It's a 600cc twin. It's worth saying that the moment it starts, it's very apparent that it has more compression. It's much more able to rev to a higher level. Like literally the 35 horsepower capacity this thing has, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is for the time, comes on at 7,000 RPM. Like 7,000 RPM is a lot. No one revs their BMW to 7,000 RPM unless it's a race bike or performance machine. You can see with the low swapped handlebars, even the sporty Speedo that goes to 180 kilometers per hour. We've got a few things about this bike that made it different. First of all, you're looking at hydraulically damped telescoping front forks. You're looking at a 200 millimeter front brake and a 200 millimeter rear brake. That's some sporty stuff for the day. You've got some trick features like the air pump, right? So this air pump is for the tires. All right, attached directly to the frame. You've got a rear sprung and damped suspension. You've got the iconic chrome exposed drive shaft. Now, that wasn't a normal thing and still isn't a normal thing. And now we've seen with the very brand new production bike that the Birdcage is based on, they've gone back to that as kind of a styling choice. This rear seat isn't actually a seat for a passenger. That's there so that when the rider really wants to go 100 miles an hour, they can tuck down and put their feet up on the rear pegs, and you slide your butt back so you can tuck down and tuck into the wind. It weighed about 415 pounds, I think, maybe 420, which is, you know, still lightweight for the period. It's got larger diameter valves, larger diameter carburetors, and certainly a higher compression. We're looking at like an 8-to-1, 9-to-1 compression ratio. So we brought it back from auction, and it was, like I said, about a 15, 20 footer. It wasn't really clean. It was all there, but it was obvious it needed some love. All the bright work, all the chrome was redone, right? So the pipes, the bars, the headlight bezel, the Speedo bezel, the intake runners that go to the air filter, some of the fender mounts, all that had to be re-chromed. Rebuilt the front forks, rebuilt the brakes, went through the carburetors. Those carburetors are actually a reproduction R69S carburetor, which is the same bore, slight variations in the plungers. The engine had a little bit of damage to the case down low on one of the case covers, the aluminum, so we welded that up and repaired that properly. New cables, all new wiring. The ignition system needed repair. We went through that, upgraded a bit of that internally. And then the final drive. So obviously it had to be, the drive shaft had to be taken apart and chromed, but also there was a shoddy repair done here in the final drive, and that had to be completely rebuilt with new gearing. And it works flawlessly now. It works really, really well, but it was a lot of work. I mean, we're talking probably $15,000, $20,000 worth of work. Had to go into this bike, if not a little bit more, even though it looked very similar from 20 feet. But now it's a proper runner, and it fires right up and purrs like a kitten. That's about it. I mean, obviously, its styling is iconic. It's hard to argue with how pretty the damn thing is, and it's certainly hard to argue with how well it runs. It's got way more power than you would expect, and it's certainly something that I would want to take out into the twisties. I rode it the other day for the first time. I'd never ridden an R68 and was very impressed with the performance. 1953 BMW R68. So the difference between this bike, it would look very similar to, say, an R69S or an R50 or any of the later model bikes. The styling it's easy to get lost and not realize just how
how much this was the predecessor to that, right? Like how much of the styling of this motorcycle carried through to the later models for like 20, 30 years. Man, I still can't believe how good this bike feels. But it really wants to rev, it's great. It's pretty impressive. And the front brake works! Holy crap, the front brake works! Which, guys, you gotta understand, the 50s, front brake on my Vincent is useless. A front brake on a Black Shadow is a little better, but anything else prior to this, I just can't believe how well it works. Much like the brand new R18 that has just come out and released by BMW at the Hand-Built show. Exposed chrome drive shaft, beautiful headlight nacelle, telescoping forks. This is all groundbreaking shit for 1953, guys. And I can tell that it's geared long. Like, unlike most bikes that I've ridden that are this early, they've got these big, giant CC, big cylinders, tons of torque. They don't rev at all. They just pull from low RPM. This thing really wants to rev out. Here it goes. Wow, this took off. It's supposed to be sporty, but I didn't know it was supposed to be that sporty. This thing just took off. That was great. And then it has that BMW like smoothness. Shaft drive, the first real exposed chrome drive shaft, and the suspension works so well. Super modern. It handles, it's tight. It's just so much more sporty than it looks. Obviously it's a classic. This is a keeper. This is one you buy, and not many change hands. Even establishing a value because of the fact that there aren't that many around is kind of difficult. Regardless, the point is, this is my first ride on an R68, and suddenly I feel like I need one.
We're proud of this bike. There's not many of these around. There's not a lot of guys doing videos about them because they're just being stowed away. No one really knows that they're that special. BMW collectors, of course, know, and in fact, one of my BMW books that I looked through to talk about some of the talking points for this didn't even have an R68 in there, even though it's certainly an icon of the BMW lineup. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed learning a bit more about it. If you have any questions, comment down below. Like, comment, subscribe, all that. Turn on your notifications. We hope to do more videos on more of the kick-ass bikes that are hanging out here. Thanks. Now's the time of video where most people ask for money or donations or whatever. I'm not gonna ask you for that. What I'm gonna say to you is, if you wanna see more videos and you wanna learn more of what we've learned, and you wanna see a deep dive into a lot of these topics, go to our website and buy something. We sell everything from motorcycle gear, helmets, motorcycle parts, specialized tools. We sell lots of things, and they've all taken us years to figure out what the best stuff is, and we figured it out. So go to revivalcycles.com. There's some really good stuff there. Everything from like kick-ass hand grips from Posh to Radiance LED lighting and everything in between. We want to teach you what we know, but this stuff takes time and it takes real effort to make these videos and make them good for you guys. So go support us by helping yourself to the cool stuff you already need. And it helps us because we make a little bit of profit and then we can justify doing more videos. Thanks for your support.